I think we might be live.
Woo!
Hey everyone.
Hey, Massage Business
Great
Support
to see
Network.
you. We're just waiting a couple of seconds there for it to click in to make sure everyone can see us and hear us okay. Here we go. It would actually be pretty amazing if you could drop in a little thumbs up or give us a comment there so we can see that we are actually live.
And then it's working.
It's working okay.
We literally can't see a thing. So anyway, we're just going to assume that it is.
It all
Say
looks like
yes,
it's
work the
working
details
okay.
out later. We're still getting used to the tech. You know, Facebook changes all the time.
That's right.
And it's totally okay because we just find ways
We're
around
winning
it.
And
Exactly.
awesome to see you here again today. If you didn't catch it last week, we are doing a live every single week at the moment just to be able to help people through what's going on in life and business at the moment. And we're calling it the state of business. Especially in the massage industry, there's a heap of stuff going on. But like we said last week, it's also an amazing time to be a massage therapist. The call to action for massage and the need that there is for that out there in the world right now is really high. And also got to respect the restrictions that some people are under and the choices that people make. That's all good. But as far as just the world needing touch and connection and being able to have that given through massage is an amazing opportunity to be able to serve. So we just wanted to be able to do this for a little while.
Yeah.
To be able to share some of what we're talking about.
I think too, James and I we are business coaches and we do a bunch of really cool stuff. If you've been around us for a while, you'll know that we talk about mindset a lot. And so what we were thinking was, what are some of the really helpful and useful things that we teach to our clients all the time that we maybe don't get the opportunity to share in this group, the Massage Business Support Network, as much as what we would do with our clients and things like that. So today we're going to be talking about I would say that it's an incredibly powerful, reasonably simple, but rather challenging principle that we fundamentally see change businesses entirely.
Yeah.
And it's a way that people think about, it's the way people respond to situations that are coming up.
And I reckon when we were talking about this earlier, you know, my sort of bent is that I love practical things. I love to be able to teach marketing and all this kind of stuff. And Leash is more a mindset, you know, that's the balance that we have between us, which is fantastic. But when it comes to how to work through a challenge like a pandemic or even just other random stuff that might happen to our businesses, we all have challenges even outside this, right? The number one most vital thing to any of it is being able to take ownership of what that challenge is and actually step into a position around the challenge where we say, I can impact the outcome here. And that self-belief around, I have a level of control, I have a level of influence, whether it's control or not, but a level of I am responsible for doing something right now that's going to change the outcome here. That single belief at core is basic to everything else. And it's the number one thing that you've got to be able to have at some level to be able to make change in your business and work through other challenges. Yeah. So I'm going to let
No, that's okay. In a sec I will, but I think the big thing that I love in what you've just said is the word influence. Because when we have more influence, it's a powerful place to be. It doesn't mean that it has to be big rah-rah influence, but the more we take responsibility for what we are responsible for, the more influence, the more empowerment we have, not just for ourselves, but for others and to help others rise up. And that's, I guess sometimes it's kind of I'll go out and I'll out us a little bit here and say it's some of the differences that we see in responses to posts in this group. That sometimes there will be a kind of element to it that's a bit blamey, you know, a little bit like shut down, that there's lots of stuff going on. And there's other people who respond in a different way. And so I guess what we wanted to do in this was actually break that down and talk a bit about, you know, what might be standing out for you. This is not from a place of judgment. It's literally from a place of, we work with hundreds of therapists all over the world every year. Even right now, why are some people just kind of being okay with the fact that they're in stage 4 lockdown or that there's a global pandemic? And why are some people massively in fear and panic and freaking out? And this particular framework is fundamental to how we see them showing up. And so that's what I wanted to share with you guys today.
Yeah,
so
that's
the
cool.
Essentially what we're talking about is called above and below the line behavior. Some of you guys may be familiar with this. We're going to unpack this a little bit more. And we're going to talk about responsibility and respondability, and responsibility for and responsibility to.
Can I get people to leave a comment before we do?
Yes.
I can't see any comments here, and I'm not sure if it's like,
Glitchy.
no one's commenting.
Good.
That's cool.
Fine.
Although I'd love some love and some comments from you, or if we can't see them, we're flying blind here. Can see there's a few people watching live, which is amazing, but we can't see any comments or your names. So we'll just keep talking anyway.
Keep chatting anyway.
But I don't want to get to the
hi.
end and then have a bunch of questions there and be like, oh, we didn't even see them.
them.
So
Okay,
let's
all right, let's
continue
have a
on.
look.
But if you've got some comments and stuff, leave them in there.
The first thing that I want to talk about is laying blame. So this is
So you
above
want me
the
to
line,
write these on
below
here?
the line. So, yep, you're going to write it down
Blame.
here. Lay blame is the first thing that I
blame.
want to talk about. Now, what this might sound like is there's a global pandemic and it's out of my control. You know, there's so much happening right now. Oh, thank you,
there's
Emily.
some
Thanks,
comments.
Ez. I really
Awesome.
appreciate
Thanks,
it.
guys.
There's so much happening right now that it's really not my fault. And I'm going to blame the fact that there is a global pandemic, and that's why, you know, things are going on right now. The next one is justify. And justify might sound something like, well, again, it's out of my control. This is why I don't really set goals and things like that, because basically, you know, it's not even, you know, I'm just going to justify the fact that this is what's happening. The next one is deny.
Tonight. It's a little bit hard to read these.
It is a
but
little bit,
Alicia's
but
reading
you know,
them out
I'm reading them out anyway. So it's deny, where it's like, you know, this is why we don't even set goals, because this sort of stuff can happen.
Yeah, and it wouldn't make a difference even if I did anyway, so why
Just-
would I bother?
Yeah, it's kind of a denial. And the last one is quit. And it's like, well, I may as well just kind of give up and quit. And I also understand that we're all human right now. It's not that these are inherently bad and we should never go there. Because if you just check, if you've got a pulse, you know, we often say that we've all got stuff. If you've got a butthole, you've got stuff because you're a human. It's okay to feel and actually experience these sometimes, but it's about whether you live here. And some of those phrases that I've said are inherently part of the vernacular of your life. And so looking at, well, what does all of that do? Does it raise me up? Does it raise others up? Are others able to come with me on the journey? Well, probably if you're sitting like this. But the problem with it is that we end up becoming a victim. And we become a victim to our circumstance and to everything around us. And from there is no power. We have no influence when we are sitting in that place. Often, you know, we talk about this, and it's kind of, I guess it's a hard lesson. It's sort of like there's no context around it, but the context is that this is, if someone is living here, they have no influence and ability to grow and change and raise others up, which is one of the things that we see as a champion, is not just about you thriving, but everyone else around you thriving as well.
And if you step into what we're talking about as far as massage therapists being leaders within the community of health, within your clients, being able to lead them through what is a challenging time where they might not have enough physical touch or connection or health in their life, if you do choose to step into a place where you are leading people through that, you can't do it from that deep-seated belief of that you are also a victim. And one of the things that I remember, I've shared this recently as well, but one of the things I remember being taught about this when I first started is I was like, but what if it's literally not my fault? What if it actually is something that's going on? Like the truth might be that I'm living through a pandemic. I'm not a pandemic expert. This is a difficult time. But what my mentor told me at that time was, it's more to do with how we accept responsibility. Because even if the truth is that it's not my fault, fault is different to responsibility. And if I choose to take ownership of it and choose to accept that there are things that I can do here and I'm responsible for those things, then that still puts me in a position where I can make a change. I can create some outcomes that might not be there otherwise. So often it's all up here. It's about I choose to take responsibility right now. I choose not to be a victim.
And that's, yeah, which is, like we said, it's a big call. But it's also what we see as the difference that makes a difference. I've spoken to therapists before who blamed their community for not coming in to see them rather than taking responsibility for doing marketing and putting themselves out there. And I think it's one of those things that's like, you know what, this is actually something we teach on about day 3 of one of our programs. And I love this day. It's a really tough day because you are confronted with the reality of, what if I am responsible for every result and non-result in my life? And even as James said, if I'm not at fault, what if I accepted responsibility for what I'm responsible for, which is my respondability, which is the next word. So when we go above the line and we start to look for how we empower, the first word we're going to talk about is respondability. Not responsibility, but respondability. And the reason that we say respondability is because it gives us the opportunity to respond as we take responsibility. So when we respond in a way that says, you know what, this is a really tough time in business right now. We get it. Hey, Shonika. Hey, Sally. Hey, Asuto. Hey, Em. Hey, Ez. Awesome to have you guys on. And anyone else watching as well. When we have respondability, we can respond to, this is a really tough day in the office. You know, I've had to shut my business down. We can respond to the fact that, you know, I'm feeling a bit bored and a bit sick of seeing people's really beautiful holiday posts when I can't go any further than 5Ks. You know, like, we can start to respond and say, you know what, I'm really happy for them and I'm really annoyed for myself right now that this is what's actually going on. And I'm kind of lightening it up, but it does give us the opportunity to have more adaptability to what's going on as we take responsibility. Do you want to add something to that? No. Oh, sorry. We're usually pretty good at picking up, and I thought there was something going on. No. The next one is choice. So when we have respondability, we actually have the opportunity to choose what it is that we want. Taking a look and going, well, how do I choose to respond to what's going on? And one of the lines that we've shared last week and this week, and you hear it a bit more, is that I'm not a global pandemic expert. It's a decision that I made to go, you know what, there are people that are way smarter than me that know a hell of a lot more about this sort of stuff than I do. And I have no interest in being able to learn all the, no thanks. However, I can choose to then be influenced by things that I want to be influenced by. I don't watch the news. I look at the ABC app once a day to check the headlines and just sort of see, well, what's going on with one eye open? Because it's a choice, and then I get back into a great state. Instead of being literally kind of, almost want to say, attacked by all the craziness that's going on. And when we have a choice, it gives us power or empowerment. And the next word is power, but it's kind of got a bit of an M and an ent at the end of it, where it's like, when we choose, we are empowered. Does my choice to only look at the ABC app once a day change the global pandemic? Not at all. But it changes my respondability, opportunities towards what's going on. As opposed to, holy crap, there is so much happening, and seriously, if one more thing's happened, I think that's it, I'm dead. And what this leads to is actually freedom. And it's not just freedom for ourselves, but it's freedom to raise others up. Because when we are in a place of empowerment, you can't not empower other people. Hello, Shelley. Oh, gorgeous lady. It's the opportunity to experience freedom in a place and in a time where it kind of almost doesn't feel right, but it's a possibility because of the decision that you make to choose how to do it. And we've got Victim down here, the big overarching theme of this is about ownership and taking ownership for what we are responsible for and what we are responsible to. And I think that this is a really big key. When I first learned this, it kind of made me think that I was responsible for everything and everyone. But the thing is that I'm not responsible for everyone. I'm only responsible for myself and the choices that I make and the way that I choose to see things. I'm not responsible for how other people show up, but I am responsible for teaching them my boundaries and having clarity on what I will and won't stand for. And then I think that this leads into boundaries really, really well. What are your thoughts on this, James? How do you see this play out, for good or bad? But where do you see this kind of playing out in business?
Look, I think, as I mentioned before, a lot of ownership is really about saying, do I have the power to influence things? Because once we accept that we do have the power to influence, it's almost like it comes with a responsibility to say, well, if I'm not getting a result here, then there is something I could be doing that I'm not. And that it's different to fault. Remember, fault is different to responsibility. But even if we take the pandemic out of this, it comes back to just simple things like you mentioned, some people might say, I don't have enough clients. And it's very easy for us to go into a victim spiral with that. It's like, well, I don't have enough clients because
everyone else does, they charge too much,
right.
They charge
and,
a little.
And there's so many competitors in my area and no one earns enough around here to have massage and blah, 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 blah. And as I said, some of those things might have truth in them. It's not that they're not true. But when we're living down here, what action do we take? None. So what change do we see? None. Whereas when we're up here, the truth might not have changed at all. Maybe those things are all still true. But if we say to ourselves, there are things I can do. I can see other people getting results in certain ways here. What are they doing? What ads can I run? How can I get out there and try and meet my community? How can I search for the people that do want to have treatment right now and can afford it and will love it? And as soon as we frame ourselves in, I have some responsibility and some ability to make change here, we move from victim to ownership, we move above the line. What happens? We take some action. And when we take action, we get results.
Yeah.
So the mindset leads to action and action leads to results.
And I think here we have reasons, below the line we have reasons, above the line we have results. And often people they think of mindset as a bit woo-woo and a bit kind of fluffy. And even sometimes we have this conversation of, James will be like, they just need to take action. And I'm like, it's true. But the challenge is if our lens at which we are taking action through is clouded or is it's like a vacuum cleaner, like your vacuum cleaner, it needs emptying. If it's chocked up with a bunch of stuff that's not serving you, if you've been conditioned to live here and you don't understand why it's not working, then the opportunity to go, well, how do I look for reasons, comes from understanding, well, first of all, it's a decision. It's a decision to go, where am I going to choose to live today? And the question, we actually teach this to our kids, and we say, where are you living in that? Where are you living today?
Which they hate, by
Careful
the way.
when you say it, because they'll go, I'll take your line and I'll shove it with it,
And then next time you're having a bad day and you say something cranky, they're like,
where are you living, man? Where are you living? No, it's great fun. But imagine understanding this at a younger age, where this becomes a place that you are aware of, because it doesn't matter where you are. There are utterly days and times where I go, I know where I'm living and I'm totally okay with it. Yeah, it's like, where are you living? There, and I'm okay, it's totally fine. However, I know that it's just a camping. I'm not actually living there. I'm just choosing to have a little bit of a holiday. When most of the life that I choose to live is I choose to live up here. Is it easy? Hell no. Is it something that, I want to live above the line? No, it's something that it's a decision to live above the line. It's a decision for the purpose of raising others up. And I think that for me, and that's what I see with the clients that we work with as well, that embrace this, is it's like, the more I live here, the more I have the opportunity to serve more clients. And what I was thinking about when James was saying about what other people in the area do, when I ran our clinic, we had 35 other massage therapists within a 5K radius. And I didn't even think that was a problem. We were also the most expensive clinic on the peninsula. Didn't really bother me at all. I'd worked at day spas with some beautiful people who are on this live. I'd worked at day spas which charged $120 a session, so charging 90 or 100 didn't seem much to me, because we were doing so much more than we would do just as a day spa treatment. What I didn't realize was that I was choosing to ignore the other stuff and just show up and be who we were, and people were attracted into that. And that's just our example, but I know that there are so many other people who live in smaller towns that feel like they have to be influenced by other people, and that yet when they step into their power and go, yeah, cool, you want to play here, go for it, but I choose not to, because I choose to play for the ownership team. And when I play for the ownership team, it doesn't really matter what you choose to do. And I think that was a conversation I even had with Shonika this week, who has been able to step into her power even more. Any final thoughts, comments, reflections from you?
That's good. It's good. And I think you can even hear these guys watching. Some of them know us really well. You can see that the way we kind of approach this stuff is a little bit different, but it has a truth at both ends of that spectrum. It's like, I just want people to get results. Taking ownership leads to action, which gets results. And even if the purpose to doing this is external or internal, it's still an amazingly vital and foundational process to simply live a life by. And it's not easy either. That's the other thing, I guess, to say is you can't just live up here all the time. It's more about recognizing that these are the things that happen in our life, and how can we, when we're below the line, go, oh, hang on a second.
Where am I living?
I see what's happening here.
Where am I living?
And it's a process and a practice, and it's just part of life, but it's the awareness of it is really great. I just want to say before we wrap up, we are going to do this every week, so I'd love to see you again next week, same time. And if there's things you would actually like us to answer or to chat about, just let us know. Either comment below this video here. We'll read all the comments, of course, always. And you can say what you want us to talk about next time, or when you see us, schedule it in advance, because we'll schedule the live in the group. Today it was only like half an hour earlier, but I'll try and schedule it a couple of days earlier most of the time. You can comment on that too if you'd rather. But yeah, tell us what you want to learn about, want to know about. We're happy to share whatever we can to make sure that we're getting through this time together.
Yeah, love it. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thanks for watching. I trust that these thoughts have been really interesting. Would love to hear your number one biggest takeaway. Just share it below. It's okay. It doesn't matter where you're living as long as you know you're there. But a great question to take away from this is, where am I living? And just when challenges come, and they will, where am I living? And what am I choosing today?
Love
Awesome
it.
stuff, guys. Have a great week. We'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.
See ya.